This podcast is rated R for restricted. Under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian.
It's Oscar season again, guys.
Yes, it's
we get to go to the theater.
Oscar season.
Oscar season.
Yep.
He's a little golden man, and he gets given to famous people.
I gotta say, I'm liking this whole going to the theater thing.
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry to tell you, TC. Well, me and you might be able to. We said we were going to do Anatomy of a Fall, or no, Zone of Interest. That was the one we were going to do.
I know.
And then we didn't because John lives in the middle of nowhere and they don't have movies out there.
Yeah, it might get re-released though. Like for some reason, it looked like it was coming back in February, a little later this month. So maybe I'll keep an eye out.
That'd be good.
By that time, maybe it'll be streaming soon. But again, it's not the same. It is really good to go and see these films.
I know.
I mean, then I have to pay attention. Then I'm like, I'm stuck there in a big screen with a loud volume, and I'm just gonna have to watch it, whether I like it or not.
And what did we have to watch?
Yeah, we were watching American Fiction this time.
American Fiction, that's right. This is nominated for Best Picture. We're doing a Best Picture run here. It was also nominated for Best Achievement in Music, Best Performance, Jeffrey Wright, Best Performance Supporting Role, Sterling K. Brown, and then the Best Adapted Screenplay Oscar. So 5. One of the highest numbers for movies this year for an individual movie. This is this guy's first movie, Cord Jefferson. He wrote, directed, and produced it, and he got 2 Oscar nominations from it. So
damn, how old is he?
Good job, buddy.
Like holy shit. Yeah,
he's written and produced other things. He got started in TV. He did Master of None. He did Station 11. He did The Watchmen. HBO show.
Okay.
And there's not much trivia. It sounded like after The Watchmen, he kind of had his pick to do a movie. So he spent a long time looking for something to do, and then he found this, which is a book, and he read it, and it kind of lined up with his life, and then we got to watch it, and I think we're doing the turn thing again so we don't yell at each other. John.
Yes. So usually...
What did you think?
So spoilers, probably. I think this is great and people should go see it. So before we talk about it...
Little roundabout. I always forget that.
I really had a good time. And I was worried after seeing such a great thing, such a great wild movie like Poor Things last week, that this was... I was like, oh no, this is going to be just really simple and not going to... There's no art house here. But I...
Was that before you watched it, or
no?
Like
even I went in going knowing nothing about it, which I also really loving doing. And I friggin' want to do this. Trailers, my God, it's.
They play the Dune trailer. I sat there with my eyes closed, humming a song in my head. So I didn't, because I'm like, why the fuck do I need to watch this?
Don't look.
Yeah.
There's some.
I'm gonna watch this movie.
There's some
fuck this trailer.
Yeah, there's some stupid movie about these tennis people, like they're kids, and they like have a threesome. These 2 guys and this girl. It's the same Zendaya or whatever her name is that's in Dune. Zendaya is in it. And they give away the whole freaking plot of the whole movie.
That.
Like there's young, she breaks her knee, then they're back together, but they got married, but now now there's a lot of tension as they're. It's like Jesus. Not that I wanted to see it in the first place, but now I don't really not going in.
You knew half
any
the
surprises,
plot. Yeah.
Right. So I'm really trying hard not to just see trailers at all. And this one I had no idea what was going to happen. No idea what it was about.
So spoiler. So then let's go to TC. Would you pre-spoiler? Recommend? Not recommend? Thoughts quickly?
I would recommend. I have some issues. I have some issues, but I would recommend. I think the message was good.
Yep.
I'd recommend too. I'd say if you like the movie like Coda, where it's like kind of. There's some sappy drama that's kind of good, and it's almost Hallmark-like.
I was going to say Lifetime.
Shut the fuck up, John.
No, I was going to say Lifetime.
Shut up. I'm talking here.
Yeah,
okay, fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, right.
You say it.
Seriously.
It's like Lifetime, but it's good, right? It's not like shit, and it's also really funny. Like seeing this in the theater was pretty fun too because people were laughing a lot, and it had there was a lot of heavy themes, but like the comedy kind of lightened it in a weird way. It was
and I thought
nice
the comedy
balance.
like it was right for the character, but sometimes it was just too dry and like. But like there were some times where I burst out laughing. So there were some good laugh test items in there that I thought really were hilarious. And I do love hearing the rest of the theater erupt.
Yeah,
it makes it more
great.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Like some jokes one guy will find hilarious and then he'll just crack up and then you start laughing too because that guy found that so funny.
Or like for me in this one, like it was allowed to laugh. I mean, I felt like that a lot too, being a white guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the end, people were pretty comfortable. Towards the beginning, everyone's like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
you didn't know where it was going.
Yeah. So now, John, now that I've finished the sentence, and it is your turn.
Seriously,
you can speak.
Really?
Turns, John. We learned this in first grade.
Yes,
Come on.
we do.
We don't talk
but
over
then
each
you
other.
just go and like, hey, John, it's your turn to talk. But I'm going to say a whole bunch of stuff. Now it's your turn.
we're gonna do a little roundabout this time,
now
so we
I
can
don't
do
know what
our
to
little.
do.
Now you got to go back to the top. Let's hear it.
So,
we still haven't figured out a good structure for this
It's
podcast.
okay.
after
6
all
years
this time.
later, yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
no, I really liked it. I thought it was funny. It did kind of, if I were to sort of criticize it, it feels almost like a really good television show as opposed
That's
to
a good way to
movie,
describe it.
Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't have some of the, I don't know, some of the production values maybe, I guess. But I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. I had some real laugh out loud moments, and that's pretty unusual for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Rochester here, so there's like 4 of us in the theater or whatever. But
I mean,
on a
dude, there was
on
only
a
4 of
Thursday
us in the
night,
theater
yeah,
too, though,
Yeah.
in Inglewood.
But it was okay. But it was funny. There were some really good laugh out loud moments. I like how there were some really just good scenes that I thought were great. And I think one of the things that, at least to me, made this really good is his character is kind of an asshole. It's done really subtly. It's done really like he's not playing over the top. I'm a jerk, or oh, I'm a troubled guy, or I'm really a nice guy if you just got to know me. It's none of that. He's just kind of an asshole who's been through a lot of shit and doesn't fit where he's at. And I think that's just done nearly perfectly as far as, I mean, I just really, really thought that was great. Like he's still a dick, like to his girlfriend, and he'll say stuff.
That's like the best part of the movie is the way his character develops
right
by the end.
But he's
I'd
not.
say.
Yeah, but he's still not. He's still fucked up. He's not like, and he doesn't get to have his like big like, oh, everything's okay moment necessarily either. He doesn't make up with his girlfriend because she's like, fuck you. At least said these things to me, and you were awful. You don't necessarily just
that whole
I'm sorry, I had
relationship
shit
was
going.
a little weak.
maybe, but I still thought that part, his interactions with her were different. I don't think I've seen many characters like this where it doesn't feel over the top. Ooh, he's the bad guy. Oh, he's the bad guy with the heart of gold. He's just kind of fucked up. And I just liked how he played it. So like, I don't know. It was very low key in a way, but it still felt like it had depth. I don't know.
That works with like the plot too, right? Because I mean, I don't know how you felt, John, watching this, but I kind of felt like since we kind of focus on his character for most of the movie, I thought the, I don't know, moral or plot or tone of the movie was like his thoughts on things,
Right.
like, so like halfway through the movie, I was like, what should I be feeling here? I'm kind of confused. But then the movie kind of shows you that it's just his thoughts and that not everyone has those thoughts. And,
it's another character develop, just like, so this is where it overlaps nicely with Poor Things. That movie is really about her character. You could spin off on what that means about men or money or sex or whatever, but it all is from her perspective, and that's what's so interesting to follow. It could be controversial if you go one way or the other, but yeah, with this guy, we're just here with him and his stuff. He doesn't identify with this growing up on the streets and things like that. That's not what happened to him. And so it's not a commentary on black culture or anything. It's really more about him and how he's reacting to it. It lets you think about these things, which is end and it's still fun to see this stuff, and it makes for some pretty funny moments. And I love the scene where they just sort of do some of the end, how they did the ending. I can kind of also just felt a little.
Oh, come on!
I mean, it was funny.
It was funny, and I
It was
liked it.
cool.
But I really
be all things at once.
Yeah, I know, but it was or it was like an adaptation, kind of like that. Just all of a sudden the movie just goes crazy, and the scene where he's writing and the characters are in there. That was
funny.
That
was
awesome.
great.
That was so
great.
good.
Yeah.
And it just, again, it makes it so good because he is so like reserved and kind of uptight. And he does it so well that then when he has these characters around him, it's hilarious. It's just really funny.
And it's also kind of, he's trying to write something bad, but the way they act it out, it's like, this is kind of
Still
good.
right.
I can see why
It
people
is.
would like this,
Right.
even though he thinks it's shit.
Yes. So it all of that is well done. I think this kind of felt like, the movie's trying to make you feel a certain way, or it's trying to say one thing or another, and it feels so even-handed, not in a way where another annoying thing is just to make no commitment to anything at all. Oh, it's all, saying it's all bad or something, or just everybody's got their opinion. I don't know. That doesn't feel like that either. So it's just sort of like, I don't know, really deftly like weaves in and out of the culture stuff and his experience stuff. His family stuff is great. Like his brother is a great character. Like how he's just he's kind of on the side, but he's dealing with shit, and he's just not doing well. He's
and you know what's
doing
funny
drugs,
is that, I don't know if you guys saw This Is Us, but that was like another family role that he played.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like a television series. It did pretty well. A bunch of seasons.
Yeah, Nikki really liked that one.
And so it was like the exact opposite of who he is in that show. Because in the show, he's like really uptight, really straight-laced, like totally family guy, trying his best, has anxiety, but like is so wound. And then this one, he was like crazy gay dude, with, like doing whatever he feels like, because he reached a certain age where he just doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Right.
And that is like so opposite. So I thought it was really cool knowing who he is and seeing that show to play a different character 180 degrees and do it really well. I think he's a great actor.
Oh, yeah,
hence the acting nominee, I guess, right? Because people were like, "Holy shit, he changed."
He's great.
So.
He was awesome.
He was also just, he was a great contrast to Thelonious,
which is also so realistic, right? Like brothers. Brothers are never very close unless there's, like there's a bunch of them or something. But like when there's only two, they're very, very opposite.
Right.
So.
And it's great. Yeah. Like here's Thelonious, here's Monk. He's all like too tightly controlled, like too reserved, too late. And then there's his brother who's out of control.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, just really self-destructive. And it makes for a really good contrast too. And even like his relationship with his sister, how, they're not happy. They're not getting along well, but they don't hate each other either. And that also is, I don't know, I think it's just done really deftly. The family dynamics are too. It doesn't feel overly dramatized in those parts. And just their relationships seem very kind of real. They're like messed up, but they're not like, they don't hate each other necessarily either. They just all know like, this is who we are and this is what the shit we've been through. And these are the reasons why.
And I really liked the storyline of how like those kind of things start to fizzle when you've got family members that start to get sick. I mean, I just went through something similar, not exactly similar, but a family member that had Alzheimer's and was hallucinating and stuff like that, and they really do lose themselves. And like it was kind of like a nice story to watch brothers and sisters coming together, even though part of the reason why he's there is because he fucked up, but once he's there, then like all these new life things happen, and that's how it goes in regular life, right? Like one day you're thinking about one thing, and then the next day your person's sick. So it's like, I thought it was done really well too, as far as like showing what happens to families when someone's sick, and what happens to family when they've been ostracized, what happens to family when they don't speak for a while. And like what happens when, something tragic happens to all of them, they start to put their differences aside. So I thought that was a really cool storyline.
It worked well.
The only thing I didn't like was the hallmarky music. I mean, I don't know who did the score, but
there
I was
one
not
scene
having
that took me out, and like it was bad. And I was really into the rest of it, but one scene, it was the music, and it was also the way it was edited together. It seemed like they missed something. It was when they came back to the vacation house, maybe a little over halfway into the movie, and the brother was there with two other gay dudes, and they were partying in the house. And he's like, "You need to get out of here," but then like his mate is like, "No, you can stay," and they go and hug each other.
Yeah.
And it's all really slow. And
really
the music was
lame.
like turned up, and I was like, the fuck
This
is
is
this?
weird.
It's like, not only do I not understand what's going on in this scene, but it's like it wants me to feel that happy that she's accepting him or something, even though he's being an asshole at the time. Like, treat him like an asshole because he's partying in the house when I guess I don't know if he shouldn't be or what, but I didn't really understand.
They may
that
have
part.
cut
And
out
the music
some
was
scenes.
bad.
They may have cut out a few things there, and because it was like they were doing weird fades too, cross fades and slow like pans, and I'm like, this is like a bad Lifetime show or a bad Hallmark show.
It did bum me out a little because this movie definitely, I know what they're trying to do. It's like, oh yeah, his name's Thelonious Monk. This should be a lot of jazz. but it wasn't good jazz.
No, it was smooth jazz with
What is good jazz?
with
like-
a side of
Whiplash,
lame.
Come on. That's good jazz.
Speed jazz.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
the good
that's
stuff.
speed jazz is the good
technical,
stuff,
cool
right.
stuff. Yeah, jazz metal. No, I don't know, but it did feel. It felt as mushy. I don't know what else how else to describe, but it felt really.
And I didn't think it was that distracting beyond that one
Yeah.
scene because
No.
I thought I kind of liked it
Yeah.
because it just seemed like the volume was lower, but that seemed like they cranked it up, and I was
like
I just
that's
couldn't,
where you started to feel like this is you're getting manipulated here. Look at them, isn't this nice?
Yeah.
I know. I still
Like,
love.
did they get bored in the edit and they were just like, let's try this
Let's
here,
just crank
as
it up.
opposed to just like
I know.
keeping the tone.
Although
the way
I
it
did, it was really smarmy in a way, but I did really like the housekeeper and her boyfriend / husband. Just thought it was very sweet. They were just so cute.
Yeah, I kind of liked it too. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. Maybe it's because we don't watch Hallmark movies, and when they're
Maybe.
done
Oh, they just
like
seem-
this, it's kind of like, oh, that's
Maybe.
nice.
Well, they
Everyone's
just-
having a nice
they
time.
seemed
This
really
is good.
happy. It just seemed very sweet. Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it was, but yeah.
I could see getting sick of this type of movie, though, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
Well, I mean, the funny thing about this movie too is that it has all the right story beats. It had every story beat you could ever need. And then I was thinking to myself, like, this is an example of when the formulaic story beat approach works, but it's pretty obvious what's about to happen next. Like, I wasn't
What? I'd say
I
the
wasn't that
opposite.
No.
surprised with what
No.
was going
I
on.
was totally surprised
really?
because that was one of my favorite parts of watching it.
Oh,
is
really? I knew
usually
they
I'm
were
pretty
all
good at
going to come
predicting-
together at the end. I mean,
Oh.
it was a must. It was a must.
But that's not what really happened.
Yeah, it
kind
is.
of just went
Well,
off into the breeze. We don't know what happened to the mother. We don't know what the real ending is. We don't know if the story we just listened to was his interpretation as he told it to this director, or if it's actually what happened.
Oh, see, I just assumed that it all just happened.
I don't know, because when I was watching it, I was kind of like, some of these white people are just like overly white. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like for comedic purposes, and it was funny.
It was
but
funny.
like, this is a little unrealistic, and they're overly white. But then
I see.
at
I
the-
thought
at
that
the
was all
end,
on purpose.
He's doing all this,
Yeah.
like he's talking to the director, and it kind of, I bet it could
How-
be interpreted.
how much of a joke it is.
Yeah,
right,
but I
in
mean,
that
it's like
world.
it's his
Yeah.
perspective. So a lot of it is him telling the story, and he's an asshole, and he's racist
See,
towards
I-
white people, and
I
he
had a
hates
whole different.
all these other people. Like all of his flaws come out towards the end, and you can see it as like the rest of it is filtered through his perspective.
I thought they got to the end, totally didn't have an ending, and then had to write those three in as kind of the last joke.
Like
and that was
that's
that.
sort of.
Yeah,
I sort of was
not-
wondering about that.
Yeah, I
But-
didn't get any. I was like, wow, they really cheated at this part, huh? They didn't they quit. They just gave up, and they're like, well, what can we
If
do?
they
We don't
didn't
have any
the
idea of where
scene-
this is going to
If
go.
they didn't have the scene where he
you
was
know?
narrating the actors as he wrote the book beforehand,
Yeah.
I think it would have been more jarring. But they
Yeah.
already kind of made it
They
like
did that third
weird
wall breaking. I
narratively
know,
earlier.
but it did feel like
Yeah, but in that scene, he was in the like I don't know. He was like he was clearly in between what was happening.
It was still
and
weird.
then
He was
what
talking to them
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they had their own
He
minds. and
was-
stuff.
right, but in the ending scenes, he was part of the act. Like he was in the scene.
Right, like-
he
like
wasn't
he could have been
in
the
the scene,
rest of the
but
movie.
Right, but in that one scene where he's doing talking about the actors, he's not in the scene. He's close, but we kind of see that it's separate. Right, that's not the case at the end where he's actually acting out the story. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like in that, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, sure. At that part, it made sense because we see him typing.
right.
But in the other scenes, he's acting
No,
out.
yeah.
So,
I get
like,
it. I just think you might be able to interpret the story as being
you
all
could
told
say
to
that
the
this is
director.
all that was going on.
I'm sure you
it just
can,
didn't feel
yeah.
like it didn't feel like there was enough hints that that's where it was going. It felt abrupt to me too when they did it, and as I was like,
Yeah.
fade to black.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's when I
know.
did. It's I
Yeah.
might as well have had a record scratch right there.
I will say that last joke was hilarious,
Yeah.
though. I mean, I knew he was going to say that, right? When he was like, "Oh my god, that's perfect." I was like, classic.
Yeah,
That was,
that was
when
funny.
he was getting
How
shot
could you
up,
not
people were
say that
laughing
joke
really hard.
Yeah.
I was like,
It
this is so
good.
weird laughing at this, but this is hilarious.
And that's so what Americans want to
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just like, let someone
Yeah,
die.
yeah.
I want to see them die, and we're going to
Yeah.
be good.
Especially let's have the black guy die. That's gonna work.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
Look, at the end of the day, I left being like, that was good. It was. And the message was good. The jokes were funny. The, family stuff was great. I thought, production wise, it was pretty decent besides the score. So, I mean, I
There's
was
no
happy
bad
that I went to
CG.
see it.
Like,
Yeah, there's no
I think
bad
it's hard
CG.
to-
There wasn't
yeah.
any bad editing. There was pretty good editing besides that, score. But
And a lot of the
it
time
moved
jumps worked
quickly.
pretty good. I kind of liked it when all of a sudden it was quick when you realized that you're like, oh, like we're way in the future now. Okay, that works. Which is usually sometimes not great. You get confused or whatever.
Not
but-
awesome. Yeah. You didn't miss the fact that you jumped some time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I kind of liked it because it went pretty linearly before that, but then it jumps and you're like, okay, I missed a lot. The book is in a much further place. They're making the movie.
right.
Like we skipped a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
But it's fun.
No, it was good. I'm glad I watched it.
He really, I don't know of another character that was done like this, so low key and so good. And they put him in those situations where he's uptight and angry and he has to be the gangster guy. And he's just like so fed up with it as he's doing. He's like, yeah. It's just so funny the way he does it.
And then of course him, I loved when even when he was doing his best to not be ghetto and like that, he still was. And it like only made his position worse no matter what he
as soon
did.
as he heard a siren.
So funny.
We're offering
that was really good. Yeah, I like that too.
that was clever. That was clever.
He kept trying to sabotage himself. I want to name the book. Fuck.
Right.
Yeah, and then it worked.
Yeah. He's like, brilliant.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's so funny.
Again, great scenes and it's I don't. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen a good comedy. I think though too. So it's I think there seem fewer and farther between. So it's nice to have.
I think Poor Things was a comedy.
No, as Poor Things was just an all around extravaganza. I wouldn't necessarily just say straight comedy. It was quite the roller coaster in all kinds of.
I think
different
the
ways.
last time you called it a dark comedy.
Yeah, we can call it a dark
was
comedy. That's fine. Yes.
Sci-fi fantasy,
I
dark
laughed
comedy.
more in this film
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I still really liked Poor Things.
I laughed in a different way in this film than I laughed nervously in
Right, yes.
Poor Things. In this one, I was like, "That's
yes,
funny."
exactly.
You know?
That's what I mean. Like
right,
to do like just
yeah.
to do straight comedy. Like this is funny.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit rarer.
family drama comedy.
And I think there was like a point in this movie, and I think it was, at least for me, as I went through it, there was a lot of like racial based stuff in this, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about this. The movie isn't doing a good job of telling me what I should feel about this, which is usually what a movie does. But then the movie kind of tells you it's not trying to tell you what it's trying to do, and it's just trying to get you to think about it. And I think it's the scene where he confronts the other author. And
Great scene.
Yeah, and she's
one of the
like,
best in the movie.
She basically says like,
Yeah.
"Who gives a fuck if I like sell books to the masses? Like that isn't that what we're trying to do
Yeah,
here?
right.
Like what's
Yeah.
like what's your problem?"
This is how we provide.
Right,
Right. I don't understand what your problem.
And she
is.
calls him out
No.
for not like understanding what he's actually mad at and bringing up good points on like maybe he just hates different groups of people that he's not actually thinking about it and she makes a lot of sense, and he kind of, gets pushed,
I think
blown
it's-
back by it. He's
yeah.
like, oh shit, this woman is smart, but she's like, and she's more successful than
Right.
me, and she's aware of why she is successful and is okay with it. Like,
and that was such a nice because it would have been so easy to just have her be one dimensional that she wrote this shit and she's just.
and it was for like the
Yeah.
first half, right?
Yeah.
Because she seemed like an idiot,
Well,
and the book
you
seemed
didn't
bad.
get to talk to her. All you got to do is hear her just read. Well, I mean, you got to hear her like do the little snippets of the book, and see all the people so moved by it. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny.
I mean, but the funny thing is that's actually who he wants to be. That's why it's such a good conflict. He wants to be that person by the end. He wants to be the person that can just like, do something.
But she's okay with
make
it.
some
He's
money.
still making a movie, and he's still mad about
but
it.
he hasn't changed yet. But
Yeah.
in that, she's totally fine as is. She doesn't have anything to do. Her arc is pretty much stationary.
Yeah.
It's
No,
just
she's
there to
like-
be
she's fine with
hey,
it.
This is a possibility for you,
Right.
protagonist. Yeah.
And I mean,
It's another good hero's journey.
yeah,
Really.
And I like the viewpoint of like this guy at the end when it kind of shows him not being happy with the ending, not being happy that the movie is being made at all, but doing it anyway. And then kind of thinking that probably happens a lot in Hollywood, right? Because you have people out there and they're struggling for money. And if you're lucky enough to get a deal where you're going to get paid
Every day.
yeah,
Denny.
right,
Every day.
And there's people that never get this deal,
Right.
So like he's taking it, he's
and
not happy
even
about it,
like
but
that-
he's making
right,
money.
that
with it.
one
So, like,
decision.
It's even
Again,
worse than
yeah.
that. Imagine making your project and then someone
Right.
gets it and they're like, yeah, this
Yeah,
is
but
great,
except-
except we're not going to do the protagonist this
Right.
way. We're not going to
Yeah.
do that character.
Yeah.
We're going to switch it all up. And
Right.
are you down?
And you're like,
wanna-
you
wanna
sold the
write some
rights,
more?
so you
You're
can't
like,
say
okay.
anything.
No, and that's
Fuck.
what's so good is that.
No,
about
it's
that-
more
yeah,
like,
right.
do you want a
Right,
paycheck?
exactly.
Because we'll hire you for the first half, but we got to keep it down
Yeah.
to what we want
Yeah.
for the second half.
But
so.
again, it's nicely played because not only is that what's happening, he anticipates it and rolls with it. He's like, what if we kill him? Because he knows this is what they're going to like.
This is what you want.
Yep.
So it's not even like it could have gone the other way where the director is the one that says, what if we kill him? But it's not. It's him that says it. And that's, again, showing where he's at now, where he's going and how he's initiating more of this stuff. He's like, okay.
I mean, I loved the last interchange between him and the guy in the Roots clothing. And he's got his iPod or earphones in or whatever, and then he looks at him and he just gives a peace sign, like, what up? That was great.
Hey.
Yeah, that was like, yes, we are playing into these societal issues in a way that's probably embarrassing. However, we're on fucking set doing it, right? And that's
just like the his agent there towards the end, where the main character's complaining. He's like, "Oh man, I wish we could go back to when we weren't selling books."
Yeah,
and he's like, "I don't."
Right.
And the elevator door closes.
I know. He was great too. Again, just another.
He had the best. The part I laughed the hardest at was when they were on the phone call and he was like, they were being annoying on one side, and he like puts his finger to his head and blows his head off, and then he goes, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah. Oh yeah, your dad killed himself. That was so funny. That was funny. I know.
There was a couple of moments in this where there was like super dark moments. That's really dark. The guy's dad killed himself, and there was a scene too where like they're letting their sister's ashes go in the beach, and the neighbor comes over. He's like, "You got a permit for that?"
And they're like,
they're like, "Fuck you, Carl."
I know, you've always been a douchebag. He said.
They start chasing after him. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of moments like that were funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. A lot of good interactions in this film.
Agreed. Yeah, this is one that who it's made for. It's a wide audience type of movie. I told my parents to watch this one.
Yeah.
I think everyone would like this because I think it's kind of, even though it touches on some stuff, it's kind of safe. It's not like a super genre movie. It's kind of like a feel good.
Polite. It's polite.
It's still thought provoking though. That's what's really nice. It doesn't feel like it's it's not doing a fucking The Help thing, or it's trying to make you feel good about something or bad about some other thing. It's actually just sort of like more of a character study, like we've been saying, but it still allows you to think about all these things, and that alone is pretty interesting. Thinking about how this is something people want, and it's marketed to them as such, and there's pieces of it that still are also actually part of how people live, and all of that's just thrown out there, and you get to see these different people reacting to it in different ways. But man, it is done in just a very, I don't know. Just a very soft way. It's done very. I don't know what the right word is. Like it's not heavy-handed at all, and that just sort of I don't other than the one scene where the music comes up and they have a big hug. I don't feel like I'm being pushed in one direction or another. I feel like we're following this character and learning about him and seeing how he interacts.
I mean, part of that's the reason why I also think it might be. I don't know. There's no trivia on this movie, so I don't know what the intent was, but. It is so full of feel good moments and things that like this, the emotional scenes were nice. There were some nice interactions. It was very funny. It's kind of like he knew he was giving us what we wanted, and that's kind of what the character is learning how to do in his little journey we have in the movie. So it's kind of.
And if you want a statement on racism or whatever, I think that the other thing that what you have are these like fucking fantastic black actors doing really good work right in front of you. So that sort of, that sort of belies the point of everything else too. It's not like this is a white savior movie, which is that turns all that stuff to shit. But so I think that's another thing too, is these are some really, really talented people that you're watching too, as they're going through this. That's kind of adds another aspect to this. But yeah.
Except for whoever did the score, I can throw that out.
Yeah. I love that. Speaking of white saviors, the 3 white people on the voting board just like shutting down the 2 black people. It's like, it's time we give black people a voice.
Yeah, it's 3 to 2.
I just seemed I was like annoyed though, but like that book was already ridiculously successful, so it belies the point of the point of this award is to give recognition to somebody you might not normally get recognition. But yeah.
So to counter that, John, this is getting an award. It's probably not going to win anything. Well, maybe, I don't know. It might, but. If it wasn't on this list, we wouldn't have watched it.
No, that's true. I wouldn't have said it. I had no idea about it. And so, no, I am glad because it was great. And so, yes, thank you, Academy. I'd like to thank the Academy.
Thanks, Academy.
All right. Wow.
I had a question. What happened to the mother? The way it ended, I kind of didn't think about it until today.
A nursing home now, so she's kind of taking care of.
Yeah, but like there was no closure
really.
there.
Well,
right?
no,
that's
the
it.
last scene. The last scene you have with her
rides out her dime in the
I think
nursing
the last
home.
scene you see with her is
Was when she was having a bad day.
When she's telling him that he's a genius, but then at the end of that, she mistakes him for his brother, so she calls him his brother's name.
Yeah.
And that's the last interaction I think we see with her, where it's just sort of hammering in the point, oh, yeah, you're a troubled kid, but you're you also, So it just,
So would you put this in the top 250?
No.
I think I would.
Oh, really?
Just because I don't laugh that much as I want to. And if a movie makes me laugh a lot, it gets bonus points.
That's a good point, but I think it's hard to compare it to something like Coda. Coda was less funny, but still kind of funny, but it had like the emotional stuff I was more connected to. I think that movie the ending was very moving. I didn't really feel that move too much in this movie, even though it was like emotionally satisfying in the scenes that it was doing. I don't know. It also seemed kind of all over the place, and I liked it, but I don't know how to rank these things anymore. Can I say maybe?
Yeah. I think if it had a better score, it would have maybe been in contention with the top 250, but it did have one bad thing,
Yeah, I'll say no because it pushed me out. Did that stick out to you too, TC, or was it kind of more of a general?
Oh no, that was like movie? The only thing that I really didn't like.
No, sorry, the one instance where he's like the gay brother is hugging the maid. Did that stick out, or was it kind of just in the mix of all the other scenes with the bad music?
But I don't think it stood out any worse than the score.
Oh, but so the score in that scene.
I mean, the score. No,
just it was generally bad throughout.
It was just a bad scene.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna go no.
Well, it didn't really make any sense as far as it made like plot logical sense, but it didn't make any sense as to like how random it just popped up out of nowhere, and it's like I don't know. There was a lot of those kind of like people just popped into the story now, and here we go. But I was okay with it for the most part, and the score just didn't solidify some of those really like iffy scenes. They only made them worse.
You spend less than $10 million. It's hard to get an orchestra to write a good soundtrack for your movie. Now it's probably all
royalty free.
Royalty free. You go to the database and you type in jazz and start plopping stuff in. That's what happens.
Smooth.
So we're gonna keep this train rolling, guys. And this one movie is playing near me.
All right.
And TC probably. It's called Anatomy of a Fall.
Anatomy
and it is
of a
streaming
Fall.
as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Does that sound good? Because the plan is we have enough time before the Oscars to watch all of the Best Picture nominees, and then we can have a bonus episode where we do our little Oscar predictions ourselves, and we post it before the Oscars, and then we can see
how
afterwards
off we were.
How off we were.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool.
We could do something like this is what we think is going to win this category. This is what we want to win. Something like that. So at least we can express our own opinions,
support or negative.
Yeah. Right. Because Oppenheimer's going to win,
Right.
I think, you guys might think differently, but
I don't know. I'll hope for otherwise, but you might be probably right.
Yeah. If I was a betting man, and I would put money on Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So Anatomy of a Fall.
It's playing near me.
Anatomy of a Fall.
Or if I can stream it if I need to, but I'd have to go to see in the theater.
So I tried because I know we're really enjoying this theater thing.
I like the theater.
I mean, unless you want to go see The Beekeeper, with Jason Statham.
I mean, I
pretty
might.
slim pickings out.
The Beekeeper looks kind of cool.
Looks
I'm not gonna lie.
I think it'd be probably pretty fun.
I'm not sure we'd even get to the 20-minute mark on that one.
I would say I haven't seen an insect angle on an action hero before like this, so kind of interesting to see what he does with those bees.
He's getting into his John Travolta Pulp Fiction era with this one. He's really coming back around and becoming a master at his craft.
All right,
guys.
Talk
to you guys next week.